The discovery of a lifetime. Holy, it's a human juggernaut. Silo screamed. The legendary human war machines were long thought destroyed, their very existence a myth. Yet here one sat, crashed, battered, but unmistakable. Silo was the youngest and most ambitious explorer of the Wuhan expedition. His species voyaged the stars seeking knowledge and treasure with advanced technology and limitless curiosity. This sector seemed empty, primitive, worthless, but anomalous energy readings spiked Silo's interest. He begged to investigate, feeling in his gut that something big awaited. Commander Varick scoffed but permitted a brief detour just to shut Silo up. Shock rippled through the bridge as they closed on the signal and beheld the titanic derelict ship, dwarfing their meager vessel. Jaws dropped, spines shivered. Silo bubbled with excitement and volunteered to lead the excursion, desperate to unravel the Juggernaut's mysteries firsthand. The commander wanted to forbid it, but the opportunity was too momentous to entrust to anyone else. The historical implications alone were staggering. Proof that the monstrous human empire was no mere rumor, that they had warred and conquered beyond Orion's veil, and that their frightful juggernauts, whispered of only in hushed tones, had been real. Every fiber of Silo's being vibrated as the shuttle touched down near the hulking wreck. He threw on his exosuit, grabbed his scanner, and raced down the ramp, eager to see how puny Verulians stacked up inside the mighty ship. Answers and glory awaited within, and Silo would claim them first. But he had no clue of the horrors that still lurked in the shadows of that metal beast, or of the terrible price they would pay for waking them. The shuttle touched down with a gentle thud, kicking up a cloud of dust and debris. Silo was the first one out, bounding down the ramp with his scanner already in hand. But he froze mid-stride as he took in the sheer immensity of the wrecked ship looming before them. By the stars, Dr. Lyra gasped as she and the others joined Silo. They all craned their necks back, trying to see the top of the crashed behemoth, but it extended beyond their field of view, vanishing into the gloom above. "This thing is colossal," Saran exclaimed, consulting his handheld analyzer. "Preliminary scans indicate it's at least 10 times the size of our largest research vessels, possibly even bigger." Silo nodded absently, still transfixed by the hulking derelict. He took a tentative step closer, reaching out to touch the hull. The metal was unlike anything he'd ever seen, a strange alloy pitted and scored by what looked like plasma burns and high-velocity impacts. "Look at these battle scars," he breathed, tracing a finger along a particularly deep gouge. "This ship has seen some serious action. I wonder what kind of fearsome enemies it went up against." "I'm more interested in who built it," Dr. Lyra mused. "The construction materials and design don't match anything in the Federation database. We could be looking at an entirely unknown species here." Saran fiddled with his scanner again, and then looked up sharply. "I'm detecting an energy source. It's faint, but seems to be coming from somewhere near the core of the ship." Silo felt a thrill of excitement surge through him. A working power system could mean intact data logs, star maps, weapon schematics. He frantically searched for an access point, running his hands over the hull. "There," he shouted triumphantly, pointing at a massive gash torn into the ship's flank. It looked like it had been caused by the violent impact of the crash. The team exchanged apprehensive glances, then shouldered their packs and made their way to the impromptu entrance. Silo went first, clambering over the jagged lip of torn metal. As he stepped into the murky interior, he had to catch his breath. It was a scene of utter chaos and destruction. Mangled bulkheads jutted out at crazy angles, fused together by the heat of some blast. Tangles and loops of dead wiring hung from the ceiling like creeper vines, and everything was covered in a thick layer of dust and ash. "Talk about a fixer-upper, huh?" Saran joked weakly as he and the others followed Silo inside. But no one laughed. They were all too busy gaping at the devastation surrounding them. They picked their way deeper into the ruined ship, beams from their headlamps dancing over the wreckage. The going was treacherous. They had to navigate around heaps of rubble and collapsed passageways. More than once, someone's boot got snagged on an exposed conduit or snarled in a spaghetti tangle of cables. Despite the slow progress, Tylo felt a rising sense of excitement. Each chamber and corridor they passed through was a treasure trove of potential discovery. What wonders might still be hidden in the bowels of this ship? Then Dr. Lyra called out suddenly, "Over here. I found something." Secrets of the Juggernaut. The passageway seemed to stretch on forever, a gloomy tunnel of twisted metal and dangling wires. Silo led the way, his heart pounding with each step. The anticipation was electric, like a gathering storm about to break. Whatever lay ahead, he knew it would change everything. "There, I see an opening up ahead," Saran called out. Silo quickened his pace. The passage finally spilled out into a huge vaulted chamber. It could only be a bridge. Consoles and command stations ringed the space, many reduced to tangled wreckage. A massive viewport dominated the far wall, now just a jagged maw opening onto the starry void. But Silo barely noticed any of that. His attention was riveted on the bodies. They were everywhere, draped over chairs, sprawled across the deck, propped against bulkheads. Some wore suits of heavy armor, the plates cracked and pitted. Others were clad in the same ragged uniforms they'd seen earlier. All the poses spoke of grim defiance and desperate struggle. "Gods," Dr. Lyra breathed. "What happened here? What were they fighting?" "Let's find out." Silo stepped over a fallen beam and moved to the nearest intact console. "Saran, help me get this powered up. There may be log entries or—" His voice trailed off as his gaze fell on the skeleton slumped before the workstation. The uniform was different, finer, more elaborate. Shreds of something that might have once been an embroidered sash clung to the desiccated rib cage. A commander, Dr. Lyra, crouched down, scanner wearing. Silo saw her frown, tap the device, then stiffen in shock. This can't be right. It's saying. She looked up at the others, eyes wide. They were human. This is a human ship. Stunned silence. Saran found his voice first. "That's impossible. The humans have been gone for thousands of years. They're a myth, a legend. They didn't even originate in this part of the galaxy." "The scans don't lie." Dr. Lyra stood, voice shaking. "The bone structure, the DNA remnants, it's a positive match. This crew was human." Silo felt like the deck had just dropped out from under him. The humans were real. More than that, they'd been here, in the Verulians' own backyard. All those whispered stories he'd thrilled to as a child, of mighty human battle fleets and galaxy-spanning wars. They were more than just tales. He looked around the bridge with new eyes, trying to imagine it as it must have been. Consoles manned. The viewport a seamless sheet of transplas, a hive of urgent activity and barked commands. A human crew, fighting and dying light years from their home. "Over here." Saran's shout snapped Silo out of his reverie. "I found the source of that energy reading." They hurried over to where Saran stood by a bank of machinery near the rear of the bridge. His scanner was going wild, lights flashing, and numbers scrolling rapidly. "There's still some power here, barely. It's coming from—" He stopped, frowning at the readout. "What is this?" Dr. Lyra leaned in, eyes narrowing as she studied the readings. Then they widened in sudden understanding. "It's a containment unit, some kind of cryostasis pod." She looked up at Silo, expression incredulous. "There's someone alive in there, frozen, but alive." Silo's heart leaped. A living human, right here in this ancient wreck. "Can we open it? Wake them up?" "It's risky," Saran warned. "We don't know what kind of state they're in, and the power levels are critically low. If we mess this up, we could lose them for good." "But we have to try," Silo insisted. "We can't leave them here, not after everything." Dr. Lyra nodded. "Agreed. Let's get this pod open. Carefully." They worked with feverish intensity, checking and double-checking connections, rerouting power, ensuring the delicate mechanisms were ready for activation. Xylo's fingers trembled as he keyed in the final sequence. The machinery hummed, lights flickering to life. "Here we go," Saran muttered. The cryopod hissed, its seals releasing with a puff of vapor. The cover slowly lifted, revealing the figure within. Xylo leaned in, eyes wide with wonder. It was a man, clad in a once pristine uniform now stained and tattered. His face was peaceful, as if merely sleeping. "He's beautiful," Dr. Lyra breathed. Xylo felt a pang of irrational jealousy, but quickly squashed it. This was history, coming to life before them. The man's eyelids fluttered, then slowly opened. He blinked, eyes adjusting to the light, then focused on the faces hovering above him. Who are you?" he croaked, voice hoarse with disuse. "We're Verulian explorers," Xylo said gently. "You've been asleep a long time. Can you tell us your name?" The man frowned, searching his memory. I am Captain James Harper of the human starship Juggernaut." Xylo exchanged a look with his companions, excitement bubbling over. They had so many questions, so much to learn. But for now, they had accomplished the impossible. They had awakened a human, and with him, the lost legacy of a forgotten age. "Welcome back, Captain," Tylo said, smiling. "Welcome to the future, the secrets unveiled." Captain James Harper's eyes flickered with confusion as he took in his surroundings. The bridge of his once mighty ship was a shadow of its former glory, filled with alien faces gazing at him with a mixture of awe and apprehension. How long have I been out?" Harper's voice was raspy, each word a struggle. Xylo exchanged a glance with Dr. Lyra, who nodded. "Our estimates suggest you've been in stasis for over 3,000 years, she said softly. Harper's eyes widened in shock. 3,000 years, he repeated, the weight of the revelation pressing down on him. The war, what happened to the war? Dr. Lyra shook her head. "We don't know much about your war. Your people left behind little more than legends and ruins. You're the first living human we've encountered." Harper's gaze hardened, a flicker of the commanding presence he once had. "I need to access the ship's logs. There must be records, data, something to tell us what happened." Saran moved quickly to a nearby console, rerouting what little power they had managed to stabilize. "We're on it, Captain," he said, his fingers flying over the controls. As Saran worked, Harper tried to stand, but his legs wobbled, and Xylo hurried to support him. "Easy there," Xylo said. "You've been out for a long time. Take it slow." Harper nodded, grateful for the assistance. He looked around, taking in the damage, the skeletons of his fallen crew. "We were on a mission," he began, his voice gaining strength. "A last-ditch effort to turn the tide of the war. The Juggernaut was our flagship, the pinnacle of human engineering and warfare." Dr. Lyra listened intently, her mind racing with the implications. "Who were you fighting?" she asked. Harper's eyes darkened. "The Xenar," he said, his voice dripping with hatred. "A ruthless, expansionist species. They sought to conquer and enslave every race they encountered. We were their last significant opposition. We fought them across countless star systems, but they were relentless." The console beeped, and Saran looked up, excitement in his eyes. "I've got the logs," he said. "They'll take some time to decrypt, but we should have access soon." Harper nodded, relief washing over his features. "Good. We need to know what happened, why the Juggernaut ended up here, and what became of the XNR." As Saran worked on decrypting the logs, Xylo and Dr. Lyra helped Harper to a makeshift seat. They brought him water and a nutrient pack from their supplies, which he gratefully accepted. "You have no idea what this means to us," Xylo said. "Your people, your history, it's all been shrouded in mystery for so long. Finding you, and this ship, it's beyond anything we could have hoped for." Harper managed a weak smile. "I'm just glad someone found us, that our sacrifice wasn't completely forgotten." Hours passed as the team worked tirelessly. Finally, the console beeped again, and Saran's face lit up. "I've got it. The logs are accessible." Harper struggled to his feet, determination in his eyes. "Let's see what we can learn." The bridge fell silent as the logs began to play. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing scenes of the Juggernaut in its prime. Shining, powerful, crewed by thousands of humans. Harper's voice narrated the entries, describing battles, strategic retreats, and desperate counterattacks. "We were on a mission to strike at the heart of the XNR Empire," Harper explained. "A do-or-die operation, but something went wrong. We were ambushed, forced to flee. The stasis protocol was initiated to preserve the ship and crew in case of catastrophic failure." The logs showed the final moments of the Juggernaut, the ship taking critical damage, Harper giving the order to initiate stasis. The screens went dark, and the room was silent. Dr. Lyra broke the silence. "The XNR, do you think they still pose a threat?" Harper shook his head slowly. "After 3,000 years, I don't know. But if they do, we need to be ready." Xylem nodded, determination in his eyes. "We'll help you, Captain. We'll piece together what happened, and we'll ensure that your fight, your legacy, isn't forgotten." Harper looked at each of them, gratitude and resolve in his eyes. "Thank you. We have much to do. The Juggernaut may be broken, but with your help, we can ensure that humanity's story continues. And if the XNR still exist, we'll be ready for them." Dr. Lyra listened intently, her mind racing with the implications. "Who are you fighting?" she asked. Harper's eyes darkened. "The XNR," he said, his voice dripping with hatred. "A ruthless, expansionist species. They sought to conquer and enslave every race they encountered. We were their last significant opposition. We fought them across countless star systems, but they were relentless." The console beeped, and Saran looked up, excitement in his eyes. "I've got the logs," he said. "They'll take some time to decrypt, but we should have access soon." Harper nodded, relief washing over his features. "Good. We need to know what happened, why the Juggernaut ended up here, and what became of the XNR." As Saran worked on decrypting the logs, Silo and Dr. Lyra helped Harper to a makeshift seat. They brought him water and a nutrient pack from their supplies, which he gratefully accepted. "You have no idea what this means to us," Tylo said. "Your people, your history, it's all been shrouded in mystery for so long. Finding you, and this ship, it's beyond anything we could have hoped for." Harper managed a weak smile. "I'm just glad someone found us, that our sacrifice wasn't completely forgotten." Hours passed as the team worked tirelessly. Finally, the console beeped again, and Saran's face lit up. "I've got it. The logs are accessible." Harper struggled to his feet, determination in his eyes. "Let's see what we can learn." The bridge fell silent as the logs began to play. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing scenes of the Juggernaut in its prime. Shining, powerful, crewed by thousands of humans. Harper's voice narrated the entries, describing battles, strategic retreats, and desperate counterattacks. "We were on a mission to strike at the heart of the XNR Empire," Harper explained. "A do-or-die operation, but something went wrong. We were ambushed, forced to flee. The stasis protocol was initiated to preserve the ship and crew in case of catastrophic failure." The logs showed the final moments of the Juggernaut, the ship taking critical damage, Harper giving the order to initiate stasis. The screens went dark, and the room was silent. Dr. Lyra broke the silence. "The XNR, do you think they still pose a threat?" Harper shook his head slowly. "After 3,000 years, I don't know. But if they do, we need to be ready." Xylo nodded, determination in his eyes. "We'll help you, Captain. We'll piece together what happened, and we'll ensure that your fight, your legacy, isn't forgotten." Harper looked at each of them, gratitude and resolve in his eyes. "Thank you. We have much to do." The Juggernaut may be broken, but with your help, we can ensure that humanity's story continues. And if the XNR still exist, we'll be ready for them. Rebuilding the Juggernaut. Over the following weeks, the Verulian team worked tirelessly to restore the Juggernaut. The ship was a treasure trove of ancient human technology, much of it far more advanced than anything in the Verulian database. Harper, despite his weakened state, was a fountain of knowledge, guiding the team through the ship's systems and helping them make sense of the complex machinery. The power core is still mostly intact, Saran reported one day, wiping sweat from his brow. If we can stabilize the containment fields, we should be able to get it back online. Harper nodded. Good. We'll need full power to access the deeper systems and make this ship spaceworthy again. Dr. Lyra focused on the medical bay, trying to understand the human physiology and ensure that Harper received the care he needed. Your body has suffered extensive atrophy, she explained during one of their sessions. We'll need to gradually rebuild your strength. Harper nodded, grimacing as he flexed his weakened muscles. I'll do whatever it takes. There's too much at stake. As the team delved deeper into the Juggernaut, they discovered more about the ship's history and the humans who had served on it. Personal logs, holophotos, and other mementos painted a vivid picture of life aboard the vessel. Silo spent hours poring over these records, fascinated by the glimpses into a lost world. These people, he said one evening, showing Dr. Lyra a holo image of a family gathered around a table. They were so much like us. They laughed, they loved, they fought for what they believed in. Dr. Lyra smiled. It makes you wonder what other commonalities we share with the other species out there. Maybe we're not so different after all. As the days turned into weeks, the Juggernaut began to come alive again. Systems that had lain dormant for millennia hummed with power. Lights flickered on in once dark corridors. The ship's AI, long silent, was coaxed back into operation, providing invaluable assistance. One day, Harper called the team to the bridge. I've been reviewing the strategic data, he said, his voice stronger now. There are coordinates here, locations of key XNR installations. If they still exist, we need to know. We need to be ready. Silo nodded. We'll scout them out, but we'll need to be careful. We don't know what we'll find. Harper's eyes gleamed with a mix of anticipation and resolve. Agreed. But if the XNR are still out there, we'll be ready for them this time. A new alliance. The Verulian expedition, now joined by Harper, set a course for the first set of coordinates. The Juggernaut, though still in a state of partial repair, was spaceworthy once more. As they traveled, Harper shared more about human history, culture, and their relentless spirit. You humans are remarkable, Xylo said one day, watching as Harper demonstrated an ancient martial art form. Your resilience, your ingenuity. It's no wonder you were able to build something as magnificent as the Juggernaut. Harper smiled. We had to be. The universe is a harsh place, but we also had hope, and that's what kept us going. Their first destination was a system on the outskirts of what had once been XNR-controlled space. As they approached, the sensors picked up something unexpected. A Verulian outpost, established within the last century. We weren't expecting to find our own people here, Dr. Lyra said, puzzled. This area was marked as unexplored. Harper's brow furrowed. We need to be cautious. The XNR were masters of deception. This could be a trap. They hailed the outpost, and to their relief, the response was friendly. The commander of the station, a Verulian named Herrick, welcomed them aboard and listened with growing astonishment as they recounted their discoveries. This is incredible, Herrick said, eyes wide. A human ship, and one of their legendary juggernauts, no less. We've heard stories, but to see it in person, it's beyond belief. Harper inclined his head. And we have much to share, but we need your help. There are more coordinates, more places to investigate. We need to know what became of the XNR. Tarek agreed to assist, providing additional resources and personnel to aid in their mission. The Juggernaut, now with a mixed crew of Verulian and human, set off once more, following the trail of ancient data. The XNR legacy. The next few stops revealed more about the XNR and their history. They found derelict stations, long-abandoned outposts, and even a few surviving databases. From these, a picture began to emerge, a story of a once mighty empire brought low by its own hubris. The XNR overextended themselves, Harper explained, reviewing the data with Saran. They conquered so much, spread themselves so thin, that when resistance grew, they couldn't hold it all together. Dr. Lyra nodded. And it seems there were internal conflicts as well. Factions fighting for control. It's no wonder they collapsed. Their investigations took them deeper into Xenar territory, now largely unclaimed and wild. They encountered remnants of Xenar technology, much of it decayed but still potent. Harper's military expertise proved invaluable in navigating the hazards. One day, as they explored a massive Xenar space station, the sensors picked up an energy signature, a ship, unlike any they had seen before, approaching rapidly. "Brace for contact," Tylo ordered, his voice tense. "We don't know if they're friend or foe." The ship hailed them, and to their surprise, the face that appeared on the screen was human. "This is Captain Alyssa Reynolds of the Starship Endeavour," the woman said. "We've been tracking you for some time. It's good to finally make contact." Harper's eyes widened in shock and joy. "Alyssa, is it really you?" Captain Reynolds smiled. "Hello, James. It's been a long time." The new frontier. The reunion was emotional, filled with stories of survival and perseverance. The Endeavour was one of the last human ships, having fled the XNR onslaught and endured centuries of hardship. They had built a new life on a distant world, isolated but safe. "We thought we were the last," Captain Reynolds explained. "But when we picked up your signal, we knew we had to find you." Harper nodded, his eyes glistening with tears. "We're not alone. There's a new generation of humans out there, and now, with our Verulian allies, we have a chance to rebuild, to reclaim our place in the galaxy." The combined fleet of the Juggernaut, the Endeavour, and the Verulian ships set a course for the new human colony. As they traveled, plans were made for the future, a future where humans and Verulians would work together to explore, to learn, and to ensure that the mistakes of the past were not repeated. Harper stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars. "We've come so far," he said quietly, "and there's so much more to do." Silo stood beside him, sharing the view. "Together, we can do anything. The future is ours to shape." Harper smiled, feeling hope and determination swelling within him. "To the future," he said, raising his hand. "To the future," Xylo echoed, their voices joined by those of their crew. And with that, they set off into the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them, confident that together, they could overcome anything.